All right, everybody, welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge, the Crossroads podcast, where we examine the crucial decisions professionals make that define careers, that shape industries, that inspire thought leadership, and that build lasting legacies. I'm Kent Bullard, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Michael Smith. And today we have the privilege of speaking with Eric Henley, the owner of H-Tek Auto out of Tennessee. Our guest today is a lifelong automotive enthusiast whose journey began with an early fascination for cars, inspired by his father's project vehicles. After earning an associate's degree in automotive service technology from Northeast State, he honed his skills working in dealerships from 1988 to 2005. In July 2006, he took a leap of faith, starting his own business with a HELOC and a prayer. Over the past 18 years, he's navigated the challenge of entrepreneurship with determination and passion. A pivotal moment came in 2016 when he joined the Institute's 20s group, a decision he calls the best move he ever made for his business and personal growth. Eric is also an active participant in the Institute's high performance group, and this year he was named Alumni of the Year by Northeast State, a testament to his impact on the industry and his community. We're excited to have him share his incredible journey and insights with us today. Welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge, the Crossroads podcast. Those of you who are listening, I'd like to just let you know that you can ask questions in the comments below. If you enjoy the content that we're going to cover today, please like and share. And you can find more information about us at wearetheinstitute.com. Eric, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate the invitation.
So I'd love to start and kind of go back. I know I gave you an introduction, but I'd love to start with what originally drew you into the industry and what inspired you to commit to it.
Like I said, the background, you heard the background, mechanical. I mean, it started off with bicycles and lawnmowers with my grandfather, and then it turned into cars with my dad. And then from there, it's just, I just fit. I honestly tried 1 year of college thinking about something else and decided that wasn't it. And so I went into this field, just with, an honest know-how, how things come apart, go together. And so, enjoyed cars. It was a good time with my dad. And so from there, I thought, well, I can make a living doing this. And so that's what I chose to do. And I'll have to say, I always wanted to know more. I always wanted to learn more about how I could be a better technician. So I was always looking to improve. If they gave me an opportunity to go train, I would. Spent 15 years with Honda, and they would send me to the training center in Alpharetta. And anytime they asked me, I was yes. Anytime they asked me if there was something else I could take, I was yes. So I just want to be the best technician I could be. And the end result with that was a lot more billed hours, a lot more income. And I was a master tech at my trade for most of that time. So,
Eric, we love stories, and we talk about stories a lot. What maybe is one thing that you could think of as a legacy that your dad left with you that you've carried into where you are today?
Well, one of the things is just his, even though he was a plant worker, he had a knack for just being personal with people. He could find something in common with anyone and valued conversations with people. So I think that's really helped me to always think about other people and to find things in common to build relationships. So that was probably one of the things that I would say that stands out to me.
That's a great takeaway. Thank you.
What do you think drove you to seek more knowledge, to gain more skills, to develop yourself? Where does that come from?
Well, I've always, like I mentioned earlier, I've always had that built in. And personally, I took classes outside of the trade and read books like all of us have to improve myself. But I think the better you are at communicating with people, the more impactful you can be in their lives. And so you could touch lives, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's not always about just making money. It's about people, and also learning to actively listen to people, not just being the one dominating the conversation, and make sure they're heard, that they know you're heard, that they were heard, that you're not talking over them. So it's pushed me to develop my communication skills more intently.
Why do you think it's important that you invest in these people the way that you're talking about, to build that bridge of communication, to understand them? Why is that so important?
Well, for me, and I learned this in the dealership life as well. The owner there was very active in our lives, and he would come and talk. I mean, he wasn't some guy that was disconnected from us. He smoked. This is back when smoking was popular. So he would come back into the bays, talk to us about our families, talk to us about whatever job we were working on. He would give us congrats. He actually hand signed every paycheck with some sort of encouragement on it. If you had a really great week. So he kind of mentored me in that. So when I started my own business, that was the same. That was what I took with me. It was like, okay, this guy, I thought very highly of him, and his encouragement helped push me along. So I'm going to do the same thing in the way I treat the people who work for me. And to be sure that, I'm not just all about the hours or the sales. I care about what's going on in your family, what your hobby is, how was fishing last week. So I've always tried to make that stroll through the shop, even when I was in the shop as a technician, still working in my business before I started working on it. I'd spend time talking to the guys who worked with me, alongside me, and we did things together. We did life together. And so I just felt like it made work not as much work, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. And I'm gonna say we talk about this. You are blessed to have had that platform of leadership at the beginning in a positive way, because a lot of us see leadership that we don't want to replicate in the world that we live in with our first and second and third bosses. And the fact that you had somebody that walked around and felt that positive impact and chose to hold on to that is a great legacy. That owner left for you, and it makes a big difference. The walk around recognition, the walk around relationship, the actual genuine caring that was a great start that you had from that perspective, and it's great to hear you carrying it forward.
Yes, it's been an asset for me in my business. Those relationships. I'll just say, I don't know if this is an appropriate time. You can edit out if not. But I'll tell you that I only have one former employee. So over 18 years, we've turned over, I forget now how many we've turned over. It's not a lot. But out of the ones that have left, I only have one that was with me 3 weeks that I don't have a good relationship with post working for me. So we've managed to forgive our differences if we had any, or whatever the reason was that they left, and still maintain friendships and relationships. And we actually do some things together. And some of them left under tense, situations. One in particular last year, and I still meet and have lunch together. We text often and share in football successes and whatever the interests are. So I'll say, even if they don't stay with me, I want to have a relationship that I made a difference in their life in some way, even if they're not working for me.
Absolutely.
So.
And we talk quite a bit about whether we're drive for performance or whether we drive for relationships. And obviously that's great testament to the fact that your drive for genuine relationships results in high performance, but also results in relationships that last, which is a fantastic testimony. So thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Can you go into, what inspired you to focus on high performance and people driven people development as a core part of your business strategy? I mean, you've talked a little bit about the why for you, but what was the inspiration for bringing it in as a core function of your business?
So I started noticing culture. Culture became a lot more important to me. And I knew that I'd done okay, but I knew I could do much better. And I'm long suffering by nature, so I'll tolerate some things that I don't necessarily like because I want to see somebody redeemable or get better. So I was struggling with that. And we all face, technician shortages, sales staff shortages. There's a lot of things that happen when you turn somebody over. You don't just get someone right away. So the high performance group, what it's done for me is to help shape that culture and also, I guess, temper me a little bit to where I'll hold somebody more accountable for a cultural thing of a core value violation. I mean, and say it. And the other thing I know it's given me the ability to say it in a kind way that it's corrective, but it's in a positive sense. It's firm, but with feeling. And so I think that has probably helped me. And one of the reasons I got into high performance groups for that. We had our numbers. We had the GPG, and we knew our numbers well. But this is next level stuff, is the way we talked about it. And from now, with all the legwork we've done with the vision, the mission, the core values and operating principles, all those exercises we've gone through, I can just see this kind of coalescing and gelling into, it just equals a better relationship at work, a better and more production for those that buy in to it. The ones that don't, well, you can see the difference. The ones that sort of, they agree to it and they'll nod to it, but it even affects how much they make. And it is the hierarchy that you talk about a lot, Michael, it sounds like woo. And several years ago, I would have said, I've worked around guys, they can be jerks, they still work. Well, that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot higher level things in your culture. And so I guess that's a long answer to why I'm in the high performance group.
Well, I kind of want to unpack one thought a little bit further. You mentioned being long suffering and then having a sort of an accelerating thought process about dealing with toxicity, dealing with issues that manifest themselves as countercultural. Can you just give us a couple more thoughts on that? Go a little bit deeper about how your thinking has been developing along those lines?
Yeah, so I guess just to be practical, so for instance, maybe a technician who is not bought in. So we pull them aside and have a conversation and say, okay, we talk about all the positives, the things they're doing great. And then we go into, and here are some things that we see that are holding you back. And the only reason they're holding you back is because of it's the guy in the mirror. You have every opportunity, like the others who are bought into culture, and you can see the end result, and because they've got a scoreboard, they can see what each other's hours are billed for the week. So we use examples like that. We use it in the way we train our service advisors and the way they interact with people. That latest thing we've been talking about at HPG with customer experience. It's changed the way our sales staff talks to people when they take the information from the customer, from the time they accept it online or in person. There's a deeper thought of each one is important, each person is important. And so it's changed the way we treat people. We're not just trying to get information out of them quickly and move on to the next one. We spend a little extra time, but I think our reviews reflect this change, especially the most recent ones within the last couple of months. I don't know if that answers your question or if
Absolutely. No,
okay.
that's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that reflection.
I had another thought that I wanted to get back to. You mentioned redemption. I love, having a path to redeem themselves. Do you think that the practice of redemption is important, or plays an important role in running a high performing team?
Yeah, yes. Because, I mean, let's just face it, none of the three of us have it all figured out. We all have our weaknesses, and we continue to work on ourselves because we're imperfect. So, but we have, if you have a drive to improve, why would you not have that same desire for the person that maybe somebody that's been there for a while and now they're trying to buy into this new concept of how we're going to operate. These are declared things we live by. This is how we conduct ourselves. This is how we think about ourselves. And this is what we want our everything that we face the public with, to be a reflection of that. I mean, that's what our customers us. So, I think giving someone a chance, that's the long suffering part. Personality is more that I'll work on somebody for a while instead of just, I want it done or get out. There's other personalities that's the way they think of things. So I've always I try to put myself in their shoes and think of it from their perspective before I come out and talk to them about it. So it's it's a self-evaluation of trying to think how that person is looking at their job each day.
So when do you, Eric, sort of make that shift in your mind? And it's going to be different in every scenario, I know. But what sort of causes you to eventually turn the corner from redemption as a model to a more remedial approach? What happens in your thought process that takes you to the point of having to deal with the unresolved toxic issue at that point?
So mine is usually, I mean, you could come down and say it basically is 3 strikes. So if we've had 2 conversations over the same issue, the third time is the ultimatum. And from that point, that usually means they'll either change or they'll move on.
Yeah, or not.
And so I like to give people time to change. And the only things I would say that would be an immediate remedial thing is, something criminal. They're stealing from the customer in some way, or they're stealing from us, or something dishonest. A repair that was intentionally, half done, and those would be the things. Or someone in supervision who went outside of anything that that's what happened last year with one of my managers. He didn't run something by me before he actually had the meeting, and had he, we would have probably said it a little differently. I think he was defending me well and making some corrections, but I think it's just the manner in which it was delivered. You can say things a lot of different ways, and you can still get your point across without, coming across in a very abrupt, sharp direction. So, but usually 3 strikes and you're out. That's been because your first one's verbal, the second one's verbal with written, and the final one is a verbal with a written, and this is it. And, they either straighten up or they move on. And so that's how I've made my decisions for the final straw, I guess, is what you're asking.
So your process for correction is really coming in and helping them define a path towards redemption, not necessarily disciplinary to say, here's all the things you've done incorrect. I'm punishing you in these ways, but more so, hey, let's work together to look at a plan to help you achieve your best potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another thing we'll do is we'll have an issues day. We do Friday lunches with all our employees each Friday. Some of them are in-house in the shop, catered in, and other ones are out to eat. Those are usually just for fun. but we'll have each person just around the table come up with an issue maybe they face this week that we can improve a process or change something on the digital vehicle inspection or add something or take something away or maybe a parts issue we need to solve. So we're always troubleshooting. We don't think we've got everything just so. So every person, and I usually say, listen, guys, you've heard me say this 100 times. I am not the smartest guy around the table here. Each of you have something to add to what we do, and we value what you have to say. That's not to say that we'll always apply everything mentioned here, but if we've thought it through, and this is a good change for everyone, then let's make it. It makes us all better. And so that's kind of how we deal with issues and would not let things fester. We give them a forum to bring it up.
Well, and the collaborative conversation is one of the big pillars in a high performance culture, is that ongoing, genuine collaboration. The fact that they bring it up and you welcome it and then you solve the problem as a group is wonderful. It's great foundational stuff.
There's such, I say it all the time, but there's such profound value in breaking bread with people, sharing a meal, and being able to have that open dialogue over good food with one another. It kind of puts you in a setting that's a little more even keeled. We're all human. We all eat, and so this is I commend you to do that. And anybody who's listening, I mean, I would highly recommend that you have some kind of regular meal that you share with your team.
Especially the ones where you go out to a restaurant, you don't do any business. You guys just hang out together. That's fantastic.
For
yeah, just for fun.
Yeah, it will increase your. You usually book that as a training expense because you're talking about things to improve the business, but it will increase your training expense. But for me, it's a small price to pay to not have issues that are really small issues that grow into something that's like a festered wound that you should have addressed a long time ago. It's better to head it off early when it's small and then let it go. And that's a lesson I've learned in the past too. I've let things go too long. I guess any shop owner sometimes just sits back and hopes for the best, and that never happens.
Well, it's kind of uncomfortable having the thought of, well, I now have to go have a conflict over this issue, and it's like most often if you just get it done quickly, it's a lot less of a hill to cross than if you let it continue on.
No, you're right. I was wrong in that way. I'll do better. Instead of, what? After all these months, now you really bring this up? That kind of thing. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
So I want to go and talk. I'd love for you to tell us about your experience with getting your team involved, especially with your commitment to human centricity. How did the team take that?
For the most part, except for I think I have two that have semi bought in. And those are ones that I'm still not positive. They may be getting close to the 3 strikes. But all the rest of them were like, after they started, I mean, and we had to talk about it a lot because it took, they have to understand where you're coming from here. Because a lot of shops, a lot of guys are going to think, oh, this is woo. What are we doing? This is the latest thing. What are you bringing in? That kind of thing. But, after we had some good conversations about it, and what does this mean? How does this affect us? They were like, yeah, I agree. And so, we sent a couple of them to the leadership intensive, and they came back with my son for one, has really turned into a self-development fiend. He loves to read things to improve himself. We're actually having to coach him not to spend all of his time reading, spend time with his wife doing some fun things. And then the latest one, Alex has come back with some changes, and he's still digesting it, but they want to, the ones that are bought in, 2 technicians, for instance, they want to train. They want to be masters of their trade. They want to get better. They'll come ask me for training instead of just waiting for the latest, Napa training or whatever that comes up. Well, they'll ask me to go to the Charlotte. I can't think of which name. You were probably at it, but at any rate, he asked to go, And so we sent him, and he learned a lot of great things and brought those back and shared them across the other technicians there. So uh, they see how it affects what they're doing. And the other thing is to see these two technicians who are producing way more hours than the other two, and they all do the same quality DVI. You can look across any of their DVIs. There's good pictures. There's good comments. There's no really shortcuts. They're not pencil whipped. And the difference is the attitude about what they do every day. These two come in with an overcoming attitude. These two come in with like, we're technicians and that kind of thing. So it affects them, but I can see a partial buy-in with them. That's the reason I still think there might be some room there. But the sales staff was like immediate. Even my newest employee, which is our courtesy maintenance shuttle driver, whose desire is to become a technician someday. He's like, I've never worked for a place like this. And he's come from California and came out of the grocery store industry. And he's like, this kind of culture is just, I've never seen anything like this. So it's made that kind of impact on what we're doing now.
Yeah, and I wanted to throw that in there. We talk in this industry, unique competitive advantage is hard to come by. And you were mentioning earlier, maybe also the two technicians that are slowly buying in, if we can be optimistic about it, come out of backgrounds where they were used and abused. Yeah. And so the concept that you stand up and say, I actually care about you as a person, they're like, maybe not. Let me see what happens here. Maybe they're slow sales. Right? They're slow to buy in. Maybe they'll never get there. If they don't ever get there, that's then a truth tape problem, right? What their belief structure looks like. And if this conflicts with that and they don't change their structure, then we all know they won't eventually get with it. But the attitude you were talking about is a symptom. It's a symptom of what they believe, a symptom of their history. So I thank you for the testimonial here. It's great discussion too about what happens when you bring something powerful to the group that's different. Some people change quick, some people don't, right? Some people take a little more thinking, a little more buy-in, and it's a great story that you told. Thank you for that. Thanks for unpacking it. Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to be said. I've spoken with a lot of shop owners who have an apprehension about introducing this kind of stuff to their team. They're not going to be interested in this. This is what did you say? Like woo-woo kind of stuff. And everybody's looking for that buy-in at the same time. So one, they're apprehensive about this, but two, they also want their team to buy in. They want, how do I get my guys to say, I want to go to training, I want to develop, I want to grow myself? What strategies or philosophies have you found to be most effective in developing and nurturing that talent and that drive within your team?
Well, yeah, we do a weekly sales training on Wednesday at lunch with my service advisors. And so with them, I just use practical application. I think I've kind of paired some of what we've done with the old book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so it changes their thought process and how they present. They own stewardship of the customer's vehicle, and they also on intake. This is something Seth really picked up on: is what do people want? You got to ask them what they want. So you empower them, and you guide them in their decision making process about whatever they need. And so with them, they can see directly. And I intend to show them with the thing that Inbound offers with the conversation temperature of the AI on that, just to show the difference and what when they really are presenting in that manner, what that sounds like and how the customer reacts to it. You can see a marked difference in the responses. The guard is down. There's more trust, and that's one thing our industry needs is to be trusted. And so with them, I think it's easier on the front. With the back, the technicians, and I don't like using front and back. We're a team, but that's it's a common term used in our industry, the front and the back, is that, okay, guys, every bit of information you collect and the diligence you go to reveal as much about the vehicle as condition in a clear manner helps our customer make the best decision as well. And then the other thing is to be willing to collaborate with your service advisor on what the best estimate is for this, what the best steps are. Are there going to be other steps unknown? Make sure they're aware of that. And so they're thinking ahead, okay, this is the first step, and that's how the verbiage reads. And say it's the initial concern for the day, whatever the customer came in for. This will be the first step in this process. And this could resolve it, but there may be other things. And so that helps the service advisor when he has to make the second call, because he's already prepped. And so they think about it in a way that's, okay, this is not just about me selling a bunch of hours to bill more hours for me. We're looking out for the customer's best interest, their safety, and to communicate very clearly to them what they need and what they can wait on. So in the back, that's I would say the technicians that have bought into more of that. That's more of the communication. You can say a little more robust, richer communication between them and the service advisors, both in text on the DVI and in conversation when they go up front to expound on what they've said.
So, and then Eric, intellectually, emotionally, the concept of stewardship that you mentioned, and the fact that done right over time builds loyal brand ambassador customers, the best kind. How have you discussed that internally to get that connection? It's a little bit different in our industry. How have you gotten that? How have you handled that internally to have your people start to understand it and make the connection and make it a part of real life? Tell us a little bit about the process, if you will.
So one of the things we do just to show them what a great experience is if we get the review, it's shared across the service advisor and the technician. And then we've also thought about sharing it across the whole shop, maybe at one of the lunch and learns we do with all the staff around the table, just to show what a great, how a great experience, what that does. So that's one of the ways we talk about it. And then there's just there's that pat on the back, the walk through the shop. Matt has, our service manager, has really started practicing that a lot. If it's been a very challenging repair, he'll go back and congratulate the technician for success in that. And if it's been a challenging one, he'll congratulate them for persevering through it. And that's been something I've tried to leave as an example. We have a very challenging repair on a Toyota right now, and this technician is very technical. He follows the process he's one of the best. Unfortunately, something didn't go right, and the engine's still out of the vehicle. So, but I'm like, listen, you're a great technician. And just like I'm not a perfect person, you're not a perfect person either, and things happen. This is not a perfect world, but we'll get through this, and we'll succeed, and we'll adapt and overcome. And so that's, I guess, from a technician's perspective, that was one of the conversations we had right before I left this morning. I stopped by to visit for a bit, and it's like, you guys, you have that. We're going to get this. We're going to overcome these challenges, and with that, we're going to offer the customer something that most shops don't offer, is integrity and honesty. That we own our mistakes, we eat our mistakes, and we're very transparent about it. We don't try to cover them up. There's many ways to deceive people in this industry. It's been done, but our commitment is that absolute integrity. So if you make a mistake, do not feel shame that you have to admit it. Even if we lose money on it, we'll gain in the long run. And we know what we've done. We don't have to remember what we told. because we know it's honest.
Yeah. What you've mentioned, integrity, and that's fabulous. There's humility, right, involved in admitting that it didn't go right or mistakes were made or whatever, and grace. You ask for grace from the customer. You give grace to each other. You're giving grace to the master technician who is stuck at this point. And it's like we all get there at one point. That's a beautiful triad. Those three ideas: integrity, humility, and grace. What a great stool culturally to stand your relationships on. That's fantastic, Eric.
I want to go back to one thing, and Michael, I'm interested to know your perspective on this from the psychological aspect. We talk about getting the buy-in and all that. Eric, you had mentioned their decision-making capabilities, their ownership, their own personal choices that they're able to make. I think what prevents a lot of growth in teams is the leadership is too restrictive. In the sense that if you're going to develop somebody, you have to have, I mean, you mentioned stewardship, you have to give them the freedom to own their area of accountability. And Michael, what do you think prevents that type of what causes that restriction?
Sure. Eric, we've talked about this in the high performance group together a lot. It's a trust platform that's rocky. And so an owner will give responsibility away. Maybe they give authority away. Maybe not really, sort of, but not really. And then accountability is a little fuzzy because the owner's a little nervous to see if it's going to work or not, and they want to give a person a chance to work it out, and something doesn't work out right. So that beautiful three-legged stool, responsibility, accountability, and authority, is not fully established in this relationship with the person who's taking on a new task, right? And this is the issue that, Eric, we've talked about the path to mastery and stepping over the comfort zone into the unknown and falling on your face. That's where mastery is developed. You don't become a master by doing the same thing you know how to do over and over with no risk. So when they step over the wall, they are going to fall down. You kind of want them to, because it's part of the experience. You don't want to catch them before they hit the ground. You want them to hit the ground and learn and get back up again. Then they build a resolve and a resilience to go do it. And if we don't fully transfer responsibility and authority and accountability, it's a rocky, big, soft ground. And then somebody stumbles and maybe we reach out and catch them. Maybe we try to turn away and hope they don't fall down and don't know what to say. And it all comes back to trust. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it all comes back to trust. It comes back to trust. They trust you. You trust them. It gets stronger in the culture. You say, I want you to try something. They're like, you know what? I fell down twice. Eric picked me back up again. I didn't get judged and penalized for it. I'm going to try this third, bigger thing. And now you got a culture of mastery. Now you have a high performance culture of individuals developing, and it takes a little while to get that trust built, because again, we don't come from an industry that's trust rich, either internally or externally. So once traction, tell us, and traction, right? Traction's happening in your place. So can you tell us a little bit about that traction and some of the things you see that is evidence to you that it's building?
Yeah. So one of the simple gauges I use, this is easy for almost any shop owner who's facing trying to let go, is that your name, how many times is your name asked, Eric, what do you think? Eric, what do you think? So anytime you hear that, you might, if you hear it once, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a good gauge of how your business will operate without you being present. And so I usually, if they ask me a question, I'll ask them what they think should be the next step. And then they'll tell me what they think it is. And if I have nothing to add, I'll think, okay, that sounds fair to me. Why don't you go with that? I trust you on that decision. Or that's a great decision. I might add one thing that you might consider going into this, but I want you to own the decision and whatever the consequences are of it. Just for instance, taking in an older car that's going to be a challenging repair. I used it for a lesson for my son recently. He wanted to help someone who was an older gentleman, had a sick son with cancer, and the car had been sitting for a long time. And Seth asked me about it, and I said, well, what do you think? And he's like, well, I really want to help the guy. And he said, it could be a challenging repair. And I said, yes. And so then I went on to tell him, I said, so this is an older vehicle, could be a challenge to find parts. There's lots of things that may not be available anymore. But I'm going to let you make that decision. And I didn't try to gloat over it. I was right, but I said, okay, going forward, this is a lesson. Pick yourself back up, and going forward, you'll know what to do. And I'm not opposed to doing the right thing. I'll donate labor to people, and if it's a good cause, that's what we do. I mean,
see, Eric, your model hits on a very important mastery journey component, and that is that the high level journey people and the masters are the first ones that are going to feel micromanaged. If they say, Eric, what do you think? And you give them the answer, the people in the lower levels of development will be grateful for that answer. If it's a cultural tenet to ask Eric the question, the minute you start to answer, the masters are either going to be not listening or going to be angry that you gave them the solution, because masters like to figure it out for themselves. And your very model helps both the apprentice level people, like, well, what do you think? And instead of relying on you to give them an answer, and having tried to learn another language, if I ask the person who knows the language the answer to that word and they just give it to me, I don't remember it. But if they go look it up, or you go figure it out, and I have to go figure it out, it sticks in there better. And so your model takes it all the way from apprentice out through master to help them to learn to stand on their own. And that's a really powerful thing that you exercise. I wanted to catch that on the way by. That's great leadership practice that you have.
And the traction of that too. So was this car a bad decision for us to take on? Yeah, probably from a financial perspective. But one of the high culture technicians who was working on it and desired to finally fix it for the guy, he knew the story Seth had told him. He came in on a Saturday and donated 9 hours of his time, unbilled, not clocked on anything, researching and doing tests to resolve the issue for this customer. So what flat rate technician does that? That's you don't. Most of them are not wired like that. I don't know that I would have been at that age, mid-30s. I've been like, yeah, but that's the type of people you attract. Anyway, when I interviewed this guy, this is before I had HPG, I could just tell. That's one of the things I guess I meant to mention earlier in the conversation, is that Dad's influence on me made me kind of discern certain people. And I could just tell. I looked people in the eyes, and I watched body language, and I saw a genuine person here. So some of that's just, thankfully built in. But there's a lot of this I've learned to layer on top of that. It just makes it better. The things I'm learning for y'all through this is, I never would have thought I'd been where we're at now with this. It's just, it's a blur.
Well, Eric, I've got to commend you for giving your people the space. Just to recap, asking them what do they think. Either recognizing, hey, that is a good decision. You made a good choice. Also, if you do need to add something, hey, I've got something to add to your already good choice. I think in society today, we've forgot how mentorship works, in the sense that information is so easily attained through phones, through the internet. A lot of the youth don't necessarily look upward. And at this point, it's a lot easier to allow the youth to go just to the internet versus having a relationship of mentorship. And I say that meaning, kind of to summarize, go back, think about the mentors that you had going, as you were becoming a tech. So the listeners out there, as you were becoming a master, you had mentors that probably gave you the space to fail. And I think because a lot of businesses or teams are in a position of desperation where they're just trying to make it work, they don't allow that space to make mistakes, to grow and to develop. And I think you absolutely have to have that flexibility to understand that this person is not at my level, and I need to meet them where they're at and allow them that opportunity to try and to fail and to learn, because that's ultimately how they develop and grow. And eventually they're going to be somebody who is either at my level or even beyond that. And so I just want to commend you for allowing that to happen.
That just brought back a memory of my early days when I first came to Honda. That's before the internet. We had the old manuals on the shelf, and you didn't have a phone or a computer to look at. And I had been there about a couple days, and I was trying to solve a problem on a car, and I went over to ask another technician beside of me, and he said, "Have you looked in the repair manual yet?" And I was like, "Well, no." He's like, "All right, you go look in this chapter, and that'll get you in the range where you need to be to figure out how to do this job. And if you can't solve that problem, then I'd be happy to come over and help you." So to me, that was a lesson in problem solving that you put back on the person that needs to learn something. Because you can tell somebody anything, but if they don't know how to practice it, if you're always the guy bailing them out, well, then guess what? You got a lot of hey Erics.
It's a beautiful story, though, because instead of leaving them looking in the universe for an answer, you sort of turn their head toward this and say, okay, now go there and come back if you have more questions. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful way of doing it. You do bring your expertise, but you don't do it in a way of solving the problem for it. It's a great story.
You'll find the answer to your question at the top of the mountain.
Right.
Like
this
just
mountain,
climb
not
the
that
mountain,
one or that one. Right.
There you go.
I love that.
It is great.
I want to shift the conversation here because you had leaned in and you said, I saw in his eyes. So not only developing the people that you have, but how do you attract the people that are like, what are you looking for at the people that are coming in? What are some of the unique how do you approach hiring for a high performance team? How do you approach screening the right people into your team?
The first thing I'll look for is humility. If I have a chest beater, I could tell you the technicians I've had in the past that I've hired on their proclamation of their skill and how they can figure things out has always come with a poor culture fit. Now, I will say that you can't just hire on culture. There has to be some skill and some abilities. There are people that are not built to work on, do the mechanical side. There's people not built to talk to people on the sales side. But generally it is, I'll read the personality first, just my discernment of them. I haven't implemented a DISC assessment. I just usually meet them. I'll meet them usually in the evening or on a weekend when no one's there and walk them through the shop and just talk to them and kind of get a feeling of a couple hours with that person. If they've made it, to me, if they're just online or that kind of thing, it's hard to determine. You can only get so much. A lot of them want to text, and there's a lack of. You can't really get a genuine feel of someone. So I generally like to see someone face to face or hear their voice. The first interview I had that was really outside of the norm was my hire from Washington State. He sought us out off career forms on our website, and he sent the career form in. One of my staff brought it to me, and I normally would not look at that very long and then file it. This is somebody from across the, and I didn't, at that point, I didn't really need someone. It's part of the funnel, you keep your funnel of people as you're recruiting. But there was something different about the tone, the way he spoke to me. And then I invited them out so I could meet them in person, and they were open to that before they ever decided to move here. And took them around, drove them around, showing them the area, took them to the shop. His wife came with him. And so we just got to know them personally, what their likes were, what their interests were. And from there, I could tell that it was going to be a fit. So that's generally how I start off. I don't look for the skill or the certifications right off the bat. They'll tell me about them, because that's part of the career form. But then from there, it's just really just a personal interaction, conversation.
Well, just to punctuate that point, I love the order that you put it in. If it's not a cultural fit, you're not interested in whether they have the technical skills or not. And it's easier to find technical skills online than it is cultural fit online. So just to validate your model, very smart way to do it. Don't waste your time having technical validation and then finding it's not a culture fit, right? The rarer thing is the culture fit.
I think it also kind of points to, I know this person has the right attitude. I know they have the right perspective. And if they're missing or having a few gaps in their technical competency, we can make up with training, and we can teach them those skills if there's somebody that's worth investing in terms of our team dynamic.
Mm-hmm. And they'll want to.
And that they want to, yeah.
They'll want to. They'll come ask you to go to Charlotte for a weekend to learn about something that they're interested in, or they'll bring up online courses, or they'll be the one in today's class that is leading the pack in their daily studies. So,
well, and I'll say this, right? Technical skills is an intellectual learn, and it goes in emotionally, approved as another thing that will help my personal success. Cultural stuff comes out of the heart, comes off the truth tapes, comes out of history, comes out of fear, comes out of prior success, comes out of security and insecurity and esteem and all that. And so, you can change technical skills at the intellectual level a hell of a lot easier than you can change deep felt, emotion-based cultural tenets, right? So people can change anything they want to change, but culture is a bigger stretch for an individual to go deep. It's scarier, harder to do. And so again, validates the approach that you take. Very smart, right? To do the technical stuff at the end. So,
but it takes a little longer because there's a whole lot of guys out there that you don't want.
Yes.
And once you get them, it takes a while to get rid of them.
Right.
And it poison your culture.
So your model is you kiss a lot of toads, right? And the princes and princesses show up at that point. So yeah, got it. Yep.
So as you're building your team and you're building your culture, how do you approach the balance between driving for business results? Because obviously you need that to sustain the business, to again sustain the people, and maintaining a supportive human-centric environment.
You're speaking of KPIs, measurables. We created a scoreboard that is digital for the technicians to view each week, and it's updated each Monday from the previous week. So they can actually see a lot of the things that we ask them to do, hours per RO, ARO, a car count, pictures per inspection, all that, proficiency, efficiency, and productivity. So they can see that. The service advisors have the reports in the point of sale we use to view their numbers. But one of the things I started to implement more recently is an actual, just a little scorecard of an index card for them. Because I felt like there was something we talked about in one of our meetings about ink and pen and paper being more impactful than just having a digital thing that they look at. So we talk about measurables. They have to be measured. I mean, you don't know where you're at if you have no measurement. So those are, but the culture side of it is just like, for instance, the technicians who are more bought in, and look at your numbers. Look at what you're doing. This is what's driving this. And I think there's the two of them are starting to get it. The other ones, I'm not sure yet. Again, these are the two that I'm thinking may or may not. So it's just a matter of, hey, guys, when we practice these things we've talked about and we live them out in the way we conduct ourselves here, as strange as this sounds, it just works out. I don't know that you could really give a direct description of how culture causes better production, but when you got it, it just does.
It does, and I'll validate that, right? If you're chasing performance, culture may or may not happen, But if you're killing the culture, performance happens because the people who are there are into what you believe in. The meaning drives them from within. They want the KPIs to prove to themselves and the team around them that they're contributing to the success of the championship team you built. It really is driven. It's both. It's not either or. It's both culture and KPIs. Right? It's beautiful.
We were just, for instance, last week we were two days out from the end of the month because we were closed Thursday and Friday, and they had a ton of sold work, and we had one out sick, and so we asked the two. Well, they asked all the techs, but two of them, the two better culture fits that we have, they asked them to stay over and knock some work out after hours. So they were going to sacrifice some of their time. We offered their supper, or their dinner, to buy them something to eat and to support them anyway. And the service advisors stayed over to be sure that if they ran into a parts problem. So these guys were like, okay, but you're trying to finish your month out, and it's important to you because of sales, and this will be good for both because we'll bill more hours. And so it was reciprocal between the two of them. This is not the front and the back. This is us trying to hit our numbers and trying to serve our customers by getting the vehicle back to them before Thanksgiving Day weekend, where they might be needed to travel or extra car for something. And so there was several reasons that they did it. The other one was sick. He couldn't help that. But the other one chose not to. And that was just a good indication to me, like, okay, I can see the difference. This is a culture thing right here. He doesn't really care about anybody but himself in this particular situation. So I don't know if that answers your question, or if I got sidetracked.
To kind of summarize this, because I'm thinking there's going to be shop owners or there's going to be professionals out there listening to the podcast that go, well, I'm nervous to put a scorecard up or a leaderboard up because I'm afraid that it's going to breed competition amongst my team and it might create some divisiveness. But I think, Michael, you kind of hit the nail on the head by saying the right team is going to look at that and compare it to their contribution to the team, not their contribution to their ego.
Yeah, I'll build on this, Eric, and people are free to have different opinions about it. I believe if you have a broken culture where people are competing against each other internally, having a scoreboard that's shared is a problem. If I had that, if I bought a shop and I found that, I would pull that board down. I would go to individual conversations about personal performance and personal development on their individual paths to mastery. Once I got the culture healed and grown, and the fact that they're actually positive people working together, they're starting to act like a team. They're helping each other, doing exactly what you talked about. Then I'd put the board back up again. Because at that point, it's not like, oh, Eric, you got a better job than I did. And they always do that. You know how things can go sideways in a bad culture. Once I believe in you and you believe in me and you stayed over once to help me. And I ran to the parts store when I was supposed to go home and brought it to you so you could finish your job. Once we get to that point, I want the stuff on the board because then I'm pushing you, you're pushing me. I'm encouraging you, you're encouraging me. And at that point, the board is nothing but helpful. In a toxic environment, the board is toxic. In a healthy environment, the board is healthy. And in between the transitions, little pieces of paper and little private conversations until you feel like it turned the corner. So it's a very interesting thing. Right? The board itself is not the issue.
You're kind of pulling it back because you're like, hey, you kind of have a skewed perspective on why we're doing this. So I'm gonna pull back the curtains. I'm gonna try to focus you in a different area so you can actually see the reason why we have these. Reset those foundations. I love that.
And that was one of the things when we rolled out vision, mission, values, and principles. We said this is all about us serving our customer at a higher level. This is what all of this is about. And it's not about how many hours you build. It's not about primarily, or about how much sales you produce that month. Those will come if you care more about the customer's interest than how many hours you bill or how many sales you make or what your average RO is. When the primary driver is this that we've agreed upon and we've collaborated and agreed upon this, then anything less than that is a violation of this. And if you can't live by these things, then I don't think you're going to be satisfied here. And you will find that on the board.
Which is a great perspective, right? I'm not satisfied here. And the answer is, then I would really encourage you to go find a place where, your desire and the fit there is a better fit for you. And then when they go, we always talk about putting a more culturally aligned person back in the slot, right? Which is great. Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to shift here. We've been talking a lot about the culture, the values. How do you feel that your focus on those things has impacted your marketing or your brand identity to your customers and your community?
Oh, huge. After we did that exercise, and I pretty much had it. We had it nailed down with a few edits. I went and my web content of the page is all different. It's gradually getting rolled out. It's not all like I want it yet, because there's apparently a Google algorithm. If you roll too much out, it can. If you don't have a website, it's not a big deal. But if you've got a website that's ranking, then it can affect it. So we spent some money, significant money, making sure that our website communicates that in all the stuff that's written. So we had a very personal interview with the lady who wrote my content about, I want this in here, I want that in there. Here's what we want to communicate across every vehicle that they read about on our website, or everything that's on our website. We want these things woven into that. And so that's been one of the ways that we've that it's affected our marketing and branding. And it's still going forward. I'm still working on those things as we learn more about it, of different ways. The way I speak with people in our referral group meetings is different. The way my service advisors, again, it's been amazing the effect it's made on the way they talk with each person. So that was one of our marketing goals in the last 2 years, is that the best customer experience. That is a marketing tool, because those people will go tell other people, and asking for the reviews. And when you're acting like you're supposed to, those reviews reflect it too. You'll see it in the way the customer replies in it, if they leave comments. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, can I ask, just for clarity for the people who are listening to this, you were saying that your communication is different. The way you talk about it is different. The way that you're going to write this up on your website is going to be different. Can you give an example of what that would look like for the listener, so that they understand why it's different?
Yeah, because it's not just stating, we work on accuracy and we're the best. It's like, okay, this is your second largest investment. And we value the fact that I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but we want to be sure that this is safe for you and reliable. We know that you're going to be going to ball games, and taking your family places. So the reason we do this thorough digital vehicle inspection is so that you have a clear picture of just things like that, very personal details. And some of the things that Michael has talked about recently is that feeling. You want to have that feel. It's a story rather than you're just bragging about what you can do with each vehicle. Just in the content there, the About Us page, it talks about, these things, the vision, mission, values, and I think we're even talking about doing the H-Tek way thing that a couple from, I think, Idaho mentioned, and having that on there too. It's a more conversational way of communicating with people, rather than just those canned content that we do this, we offer this, we do 336, all that, all the things that we all use. in our industry. It's weaving all that into it. And I guess I have to, there's so much of it. I forget how many pages we had of this, but each one, she asked me a specific question. How do you want to say that? How do you want to? So and it'll be different for each owner because they'll want it said different ways. But I would encourage them not just to trust someone just to come up with it. You need to talk to that person, whoever it is, or persons who write your content, and make that what you want said, what your team wants said, and not just something that's universal to everybody else in the industry.
Well, we grew up.
Else does that.
Oh yeah, we grew up as a transactional industry, and the leading edge thinking up to this point has been, well, what if we talked in committed terms with our customers and we talked about our value proposition and our differentiation in the market, as if that takes it up a notch, which it does. We cross that third line into the meaning that's important to the customer. And now you've gone into this long-term covenant relationship building opportunity where literally where the loyal brand ambassadors want to live. And in a way, Eric, it's back to that unique competitive advantage. When you write this into your website, your marketing materials, and we've talked about this, it serves a dual purpose, not just to attract the loyal brand ambassadors, but it also de-attracts or disattracts, or however you want to think about it. It's dissuades. It's less attractive to the transactional customer who opens it up. Where's my coupon? Where's my cheap oil change? Where's my free component on my brake job or whatever? And then all of a sudden they're like, meaning. There's stuff about meaning in here and life and safety. And it's like, I just want to know how much this thing's going to cost me. And in a way, you dissuade them, the other kind of customer, from finding you to be the most attractive in their options too. It serves a dual purpose, which I think is really powerful. So
for those that go to the website to look and see what we've done, it's still in process. So everything's not up. So they'll work at it right now. It's not all rolled out yet. So
it's a work in
everybody
progress.
give Eric some grace.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a process.
Hey, I thought you had all that in there.
Not yet.
So it's still in process.
Eric, you kind of have to balance because, on one hand, you want to express the value and the culture and those virtue points and all of that. At the same time, Google has laws and rules. And in order to sustain your SEO, it's a delicate process to interweave those things. So, it should take time instead of just a...
Well, and kudos to your provider too, that number one understands the shift potential for disaster from your provider of services. But the second thing is being able to listen and willing to listen and trying to come to understand, what are you talking about, right? How would you say this here? How would you say that there? We come from a standardized industry, right? Here's your transactional website, but I want to put meaning in here. And it's like, what? You want to do what? And the fact that your provider of service is listening and working with you and asking your opinion and thinking it through. And, there's hope here that maybe they'll take some of this wisdom to our other industry peer group too, and start to have this be new industry standards, which I think you guys are leading in this, right? So.
Yeah, that's and then, I think, not to beat our chip, but I think we are one of the premier shops in the area. But the other thing I learned from this, and this is just learning about Google Analytics and some of those things, is that it needs to be that way to affect your local market. Otherwise, you're like anybody else that's doing the same thing around you. So if you're communicating these things across there, people are going to feel it. Like the Subaru commercial we talked about most recently. When the dad looks back at the crashed car and the kids beside of him, and they're safe because Subaru built a great vehicle that kept him from being hurt. And he looks back and there's that feeling on his face that you can see, like, man, I'm grateful. And so you want them, as weird for our industry as that sounds, you want them to feel something different about you. They remembered my dog was sick the last time I was in. They remembered that I just lost my dad, or they pull the car up for you and make sure it's warmed up, just different things. So when they leave your shop, they don't leave any other shop that does. Here's the key, your car's somewhere out there. Have a nice day. Appreciate it. They don't get that. we thank you for being a guest with us. Is there anything you don't understand about the repair that I can go more in depth with you? Are there any things that we recommended for the future that you don't understand why you need them? If you don't have time now, that just call me later if you need to discuss them further. Maybe they didn't get back with you in time to go over the estimate. Just different things like that. It's that's the marketing, and we don't do direct mail anymore except to retention, to some of our customers once a quarter. So we're not using that for attraction. We're using SEO and just basically a better website to draw people in. And so that's really framing a lot of what that's our marketing, I guess, is to try to answer your question in a real roundabout way.
On a psychological standpoint, how does that communication or that authenticity come through in branding? How does that affect the clients that are looking at the shop?
The words themselves, we talk about this in the leadership intensive, is less than 10% impact on recollection and the way it sticks in the brain. You add emotion to it, it's 35% more. So the concept is you start talking about feelings, you start talking about safety, you get up into the meaning zone where people are drawing their own pictures in their head about this. You're approaching 90, 100% retention impact on the brand of the marketing messaging. So, we go to this transactional thing. Here's some words, here's a coupon. It has no meaning to it, it has no emotion to it. It's just a simple transaction. It's not very memorable from a branding standpoint either. So the emotion really builds into then the relational component, which gets you close to 100%. And this is the thing, right? In our industry, you want to be top of mind in any moment. Yes, for maintenance, but also for the break. Something breaks in your car, what you want them to do is instantly think of your brand and how can I get the car to them? Oh, I'm a long way away. I don't care. How much does it cost to get the tow over there? A couple $100. That's my shop. Drive it over there, right? Now that's a long way. There's closer shops. I don't care. I'm coming to Eric. I'm coming to H-Tek.
Yeah.
And that's what you're building, and that's what this meaning and that's what this emotion adds to our transactional industry. And it makes a big difference.
One of the things that I'm going to push for too is that we all have our CRM, and those a lot of times are stale and just kind of businessy. I'm going to ask for some more customization of that and how we talk to when we send that out. How that is said to the customer. I want it said in a way that represents us and not just a canned way that everybody does. A warm greeting. Oh yeah, we're 30 days out from the last recommended services, and just some things about why and what and things that we can edit. And they're listening to me. They're making a few changes here and there. I think we've got an interview with them next week. It's with you all and us and me, and I'm not sure who else, but just to make sure the CRM matches what we want to. And then the old-fashioned way, I guess the only other thing I can think of we do the old-fashioned way is handwritten thank you cards. We actually pay a lady to do it, but she gets the repair order, writes about the vehicle, and then puts a H-Tek buck in there for dollars off. So that's another way that we do a personal touch, an old school way. And we do see those come in a lot. They used to have my picture on it. They called them Eric's bucks. I finally took that off. It just has our logo on it. But anyway, that's another way we do it.
So it's safe to say over this journey, your the way you communicate has changed over time. Now, what's different about your communication practices, both externally with your, the vendors or your customers, and internally with yourself and your team? What do you think is different now?
I think as far as internally, it's just more depth to it. I've always been big on the relationship, but I think I'm looking more into I would have said that I've not been an active listener, as we all in our culture generally like to have the next idea and we're trying to talk over each other. And Zoom's made it hard because there's the lag, and sometimes you can't. It's hard to overcome that, or to pause. Tommy Nicholson, a guy in the industry, he taught me a good lesson one time. We read a book, Never Split the Difference. And he was my composite partner. And I noticed that when he was talking to somebody, when they replied, there was a long pause, a awkward pause until he spoke. And that taught me a lesson about listening, and it helped me. And then I'm gradually learning more things. My wife will say that I'm a much better listener after 30 years than I was early in our life.
Congratulations, by the way.
So personally, it helps on the personal side. It just helps in life. So be an active listener. That'll develop your culture a lot. When people feel like they're heard, they feel valued. Outward facing, same way. The way we present. Make sure the customer feels like they're heard, that you have listened actively to get as much information from them to make sure you address and then be honest if you didn't. If you lost it somewhere, maybe we got the wrong noise. Yeah, that happens, Okay, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones. We thought for sure that the strut about to fall out from under your vehicle was the noise, but apparently there's a noise that we didn't understand that you meant, So we'd love for you to come back in. This is our second opportunity to get this right. And we'd love to ride with you and to be sure we understand exactly what you're talking about. And so we can make this right for you. And you might make, anyway.
I was going to say, so for those who, as I interrupt you as we're talking about communication, I apologize.
Okay.
For those out there who have heard the term active listening and still don't quite understand it, what does active listening look like and I'll open this to both of you guys. What does acting look like in practice?
Michael?
You want me to go first?
I really, really appreciate.
Yeah, it's a style of communication where I think we talk about in the leadership intensive, communication that's one way is perceived by everybody involved as being a lower level of affect than communication that's perceived as being two-way. So from the standpoint that this quiet time, this silence, this moment, number one, people who have a lot to say and haven't finished yet, you give them a little extra silence and they'll jam a little more in the gap. And then they'll jam a little more in the gap. And you let that go a little bit, you'll learn more than you learned before. But it's that being able to pause and actually listen and have real communication. The root we talked about of communication is union. The word is union. So you're making a union between two people and coming to an understanding. And active listening is just positioning yourself. Here's us, right? We come from a position of sharing lots of industry wisdom with our clients, and we have fun sharing it. It'd be really easy to sit back and just spill wisdom all over everybody that comes from the general field, from outside of this industry, et cetera, and not listen to a thing our clients say. And what really matters is what's happening in their life and how it comes home. And so having that relationship of a real genuine, it's almost a friendship, of caring and listening and understanding and getting into the mind of the person that you're talking to and letting them share what's important to them. And again, they have their needs. They'll walk up and go, I need you to do this. And what you talked about very effectively earlier, we then try to get into the wants. It's like, well, let's talk about what you want for this vehicle. Lead you into that stewardship relationship. Lead you into that real, genuine two-way flow. And when you do that, then the communication, you slow it down, you ask a lot of questions, you listen, you don't have automatic answers, you come to conclusions together. When you do, both sides buy into it. It's just a different way it's a win-win in the end, right? Not a you win and they may lose, but as long as you get your ARO and your credit card, check out of it, you're good. This model is very much of a two-way flow and a win-win, that they walk away and they go, I like that place. They listened to me. They cared about me. They helped me figure this out. And that's a big thing in our industry too. And I'll stop talking at this point, but there's a lot of mystery about, lift the hood and look underneath it. Most of us, me included, I couldn't begin to tell you what's under there. I wouldn't even lift it. I'd bring it to you. And so that idea that I don't know what I don't know. And so if you'll be patient with me and you'll ask me questions and you'll walk me through what you're seeing and explain to me what's happening, I don't need to know how to repair an engine, but it really makes me feel good that you would give that grace to me and give me that time. And it makes me trust you and it makes me want to come back and work with you. My second biggest investment that you talked about, which is absolutely right. We all know people walk in and they want to spend the least amount of money they can to keep that depreciating asset rolling. That's what is in the back of people's minds. So they walk in, and the older the car gets, the more the repair potential looks like. And it's like, that's not a place that most people want to be in that moment. And so how do we bridge that gap? And what you're talking about is being with them, stewarding it with them, thinking through it with them, you sharing openly. They trust you. They ask your advice. They're not feeling guarded. They, okay, go ahead and do that. Should I wait? I wouldn't if I were you, but we can. Here's my thought. Okay, go ahead and do it, right? And even if it's a stretch at that point, it's a win-win, trust-based, long-term, loyal brand ambassador building relationship. And that you can't get there if you don't have two-way active listening communication. You just can't get there. You'll never get there.
One of the things I would say, just a practical application we've learned, and this is through the Never Split the Difference, is the mirror. So if you don't understand the person, what they've described to you, use the last 3 to 5 words of what they said, upward inflection, and then listen, because they'll bring out more. And then when you're done, just to make sure you understood, you do the label. You label what they said. Okay, Mrs. Jones, seems like this is what you're describing. Is that correct? And if she says that's right, then you've got it. If not, people love to correct, and they will correct you and say, no, actually, it means this. And then the only other thing I would add is the mirror can also be used to diffuse a situation. If you use more of a downward deflection instead of going up, if they go high, say you've got someone who's becoming irate and they don't feel like you're hearing them, just use the mirror in a downward tone very calmly, and then listen and pause. Use the pregnant pause and listen. So there's some things we've learned about just very practical ways to communicate with people.
I love that. Throughout this morning, we've talked about developing a high-performing team, how we're hiring, the myriad of benefits of all these things. I'd love to take a different approach here and ask, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in creating this culture of continuous improvement, and how have you overcome them?
So so if you come from a very critical, critical rearing of your parents, maybe you had a father or mother that was always finding something, okay, so you're never satisfied with them. And so some people might have that baggage. I for one, can say that I came up that way with my dad. He was a very dominant, and he would, even though I love my dad, he had his little things.
Eric, I think we have a lot in common.
Yes.
All delivered because they wanted you to grow up quickly and efficiently and help you, right? So I'm going to criticize you right to excellence, right?
I've met your dad, and there's very similar things about him. And I can appreciate that too, but I'm not down on you, Cecil, I promise. But so the thing you'd have to overcome is that, okay, we can always get better, and that has to be okay. We can always improve. It's not I'm criticizing you to show you where you're wrong and you didn't do as well. The tone is that just like I want to improve myself, I am not where I need to be. I want you to improve as well and become a better person, better husband to your wife, better leader in your community, in your church, or whatever it is you do outside of here. Not just within here. This makes you a whole person better. So I want to encourage you to grow and always look for ways to improve. And don't think of it as a negative. It's not. So I guess just thinking off the top of my head, that's the way I would communicate across continuous improvement.
I mean, you said that so succinctly and so perfectly. I love that answer. You have to be comfortable. You have to be okay with, we can always be better. And I can see that, even in my own personal journey of man, I'm not done yet. I thought I was done.
I want to be
and
done.
it hurts to go through that process of admitting, yeah, I probably have some things to learn, and it's painful, but I mean, it's a practice, you know? You said that perfectly. This is a great answer. I love that.
Yeah. I probably borrowed it from somebody, but we all do, don't we? We all
There's
borrow
nothing new under the sun, I heard,
There you
right?
go.
So it's all come around somewhere before.
So Eric, do you have a special person or a specific person whose personal growth journey has been particularly meaningful to you?
Oh gosh, yeah, my son. I guess some of the motivation for all of this is that I want to tee it off for him to have the best experience growing himself, and he desires to succeed me in this. So he doesn't face some of the things I just kind of cobbled my way through. So I've watched him, like I said, he's become a to the point where I've had to say, listen, son, I want you to stop at 8:00 and talk to your wife. And his wife, Alyssa, and I said in her presence, she says, yes, Dad, stop reading so much. So, he's got his little study now. I actually helped him carry a desk that Lisa's dad made for him as a handmade desk. Carried it up several flights of stairs to their condominium, and he's got his own little study in their spare bedroom now. And he's budgeting his time. He's journaling. And he was my messy son that wouldn't keep his clothes off the floor and his bed made. And when he was at home, he was a mess. But now he's this organized kid. His desk is organized at the shop. All of his ROs are organized. It's just watching him develop has probably been, it's your son. So, I mean, there's always that, you can't not, when you see your son doing something well, you want to be proud of him. But I just know this is going to be something going forward that will make him, he'll not have to go through all these struggles. And maybe, I mean, he'll probably make a few bad hires. Somebody will slip through the cracks. There may be a desperate moment, but he'll know what to look for, and he'll know how to handle it and work his way out of it or through it or over it. And then watching my newest technician, Cole. I just mentioned him by name. Not that my other one, Dakota's not growing in that, but Cole's desire to improve himself. He and Seth are having deep conversations of the theological things, biblical things. They're having interpersonal relationships. And Cole and I will have those at times too. When I make my stroll through the shop, just to talk to the guys, I said, "What's going on with you?" And he'll tell me a struggle he's having, and we'll personally, and we talk these things through. So seeing that change in him is rewarding for me. I think it's more rewarding to see somebody improve themselves than it is to have a good sales month or a good, build hours, whatever. If I see a difference in the person, that's a celebration to have.
Yeah, the science says that we're all wired to grow, to find meaning in life, and that's the most satisfying life, and you're facilitating that. Your son, your technician, you're making a pathway for them and a culture and an encouragement for them to grow and to grow fearlessly and tackle lots of things. Very, as I always talk about, Da Vinci style, right? Master something until you're satisfied and pick up something completely different and master that too. And at the end of it, you're a master of mastery, right? Which is a phenomenal gift to give that you're giving legacy-wise. So, yep.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's the infectious thing too. You see it starting to spread across the front and the relationships he's got with the other two guys. And one of them's this, I've got Matt's my service manager. I didn't want to put my son in a position of leadership just because he's Hayes boy, so he has got somebody over him, and they're all infecting each other in positive ways and affecting technicians in the back in the way they deal with them. So this type of culture is it sort of goes out into the shop, and those that don't want to be involved with it will get uncomfortable with it, and those that do, they'll just get even better.
I think being a high performer or being in a high performance culture is all about living in the space of mentorship, both being a mentor to someone and also seeking mentorship for whatever your pursuit looks like. So living in both spaces is where you kind of get in the flow of development, of mastery. Um, your focus on human development, how has that changed you as a leader?
Uh, Good question. It's given me confidence in that I'm equipping my people, which has given me freedom uh, to do other things that I want to do to help others. It's given me the opportunity to serve in my church in the capacity I haven't been able to. It's given me opportunities to do work in the community that I would have been had it have been a Hey Eric type of environment at the shop. Then I wouldn't have had that freedom. And so now I can do a lot of things that I otherwise couldn't. It has made it a little uncomfortable adjusting to not being needed, and so for those that are not at that point yet, you almost feel guilty for not being there. But they actually do better, and they'll ask you, "What are you doing here today? You were just here yesterday. We don't need you here."
Go home.
Let us do it ourselves. Really? Oh, can I help somehow? No, we're fine. Really? Is there nothing I can do?
I think not to interrupt, but I think when you're at a point where your team is telling you, "Hey, it's okay. We don't need you." That's them almost saying, "I want to prove to you that you've done a good job in stewarding me. I want to show you that your investment in me isn't fruitless."
Yep. For a technician will something, because I'm a technician, I've been in the trade 38 years. Hard to believe, but the technician will come to me sometimes when I'm making a stroll through the shop, and he'll ask me about a particular problem he's having with one, and I'm like, "What's going on with it?" And then again, I'll do the same thing. "Well, what do you think?" And he'll tell me, and most of the time I'm like, I can see how something went wrong here, but you're a great technician. Something just unfortunate happened. It's happened to me many times when you can relate to them in that way, that you're in a place. I've been in your shoes, and I made it through it, and so will you, because you are a good technician. You'll overcome this. Don't beat yourself down. Mistake is a good way to learn something and move on to something better the next time. So it's just it frees them, frees you, and tell you personal relationships too. I mean, like I told you, 30 years married to the same lady. She knows all the little faults I've had through the past, and she can see improvement. Has commented on those things that I actually listen to her now, and value her opinion about things, where normally I would have said, "I've got this figured out. Now I'm going to do that." And you know me, I'm not a dominant type. I'm not a real domineering type person. That's not my personality. But I still have those things where I like, okay, I've got my opinion about it, and that's it. And nobody else is right. I've learned that there are other people that are right. And I can have relationships with somebody either whatever their church is or whatever their politics are. I can have a relationship with people now. I will say that's another area I've learned, that I can actually talk to people I don't necessarily agree with on a particular subject and still have a relationship with them. We don't have to agree on everything to like each other and spend time together. So it'll help you in that sense too.
Society needs more of that nowadays.
So, like, what a novel concept.
Yeah, what an idea, right? You have a different way of thinking, and I can still be your friend. Huh. It's okay.
So, Eric, what advice would you give to the leaders out there who are listening to this, that are aiming to create a workplace that prioritizes growth, that invests in the well-being of their people, and is pushing for high performance? What would you tell them?
Yeah, so you're going to need accountability and you're going to need somebody to push you along, because we don't want to change. It's uncomfortable. Even if you've got, say, your numbers are great, and you're pushing production to the shop, and your sales are great, and your culture stinks. It's awful. If you don't have other peers around you and frequently around you, or a phone call away, you won't change. So making the investment into this group, the high performance group, or for that matter, all aspects of what you guys offer, will move you in a direction that will make you better, and you will not believe the change. You will look back, like I said, as a blur. You will look back and think, well, wow, that's a long way from where I was at. And I didn't realize where I was at. That you've got a place to measure from, and then you see what changes it's made in you. So I would encourage you to get involved in this group, and it'll be well worthwhile your time and whatever it costs you to be involved in it. And your organization and your business will be better for it, and your life for that matter. So I guess that is that concise enough? Does that make sense?
I find it interesting that we are both reluctant to change. Change is painful, but at the same time, humans are wired to change and grow and develop. From a psychological standpoint, we seek that development, that growth.
We're happier when we do.
Right.
When we cut loose and just let ourselves do that, we find more satisfaction in life than when we don't.
Life is short,
but it's risky. It's risky because you might realize you don't know something you thought you did, or you might change your mind. Like,
it's like, I'm quite comfortable with my world.
I like being broken, and I'm fine. Don't stir me up. Right? Don't disturb me.
I got one final question to ask as we wrap up. This has been such a wonderful morning, Eric. Thank you so much for being here and walking us through your experience and your time. I've got one final question for you. What legacy do you hope your focus on human development will leave within your organization and your community?
Yeah, and it's personal too, because I have a son who's in it, as I mentioned before. So one of our things I think it's in our vision, it's probably interlaced in some of the other ones right now, just trying to think it through, but that we want to redeem the negative opinion that people have about our industry. We want it to be one that, okay, these people are different, and this is why they're different. And we want our guys to, and our ladies for that matter, to think about that in terms of the way they do their job every day when they come in. You're moving the needle away from what we've been painted as unethical, can't be trusted industry, to someone who sets the standard for that. That we want to be that shining beacon, I guess, that people look at and like, that's different there. And so I want, as Seth decides to develop, and as even if the team that we have now moves on to something else, I want them to be to look back at what they've learned with us, and make a difference in the world, whatever way they are occupied with at that time. Whether it's in their families, whether they go to say they go to financial investing. We want them to be the best they can be in that, and they can maybe look back, not for us to beat our chest, but hey, if I haven't worked for them and learned these things culturally of how to interact with people and what's really important in life, then I would not be as successful at what I'm doing now. So whether they stay with us or not, we're making an investment in people's lives. We're going to change the industry we're in, but we're going to try to change the world too in the way we live out, or with people around us, what they see in us. So,
can I just grab a piece of what you said? A legacy of raising up legacy leavers. It's a multiplication model. right? It's
Uh-huh.
not just your legacy. You're raising up people who know how to leave legacies to go leave their legacies, which will ultimately raise up legacy leavers, it's a profound thing you're working on. Thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful. Really powerful.
It's still in process. We're not
The website's not quite done yet, right? So
You mentioned redeeming. You mentioned redeeming the image of the industry. I always go back. I've underlined and circled redemption a few times throughout this conversation. I think it's just such a beautiful sentiment. Eric, thank you so much for being here. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments about what we covered today, please comment down in the comment section below. Eric Henley, H-Tek Auto Care out of Tennessee, thank you so much for your time today. This has been such a treat.
yeah, it's a pleasure
It was
to
a
know
pleasure
you.
to visit with you guys.
It's a pleasure to know you too, my friend. So,
Likewise.
Yep.
I'll see you soon.
yes, you will.
Those of you who want more information about what we do at the Institute, you can find more info at wearetheinstitute.com. Thank you for listening.